back of the pack. My next guest claims the format will not allow anyone in either debate to separate themselves. Joining us right now is former Republican National Committee Chairman and former Mississippi Governor Haley Barbour. Governor, great to see you again. Welcome.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you so much for joining us. So you don't think, given the number of candidates, you don't think anybody's going to be able to break out?
Well, it's going to be very hard because these candidates, be 10 of them in the second debate, they'll get to speak about 10 minutes all told for 1 minute at a time. And at 1 minute at a time, it's very hard to make a coherent argument. If you got an accent like mine, you can barely say hello.
What about like Donald Trump? I mean, what's your take on Donald Trump being the front runner?
Well, I think he has tapped into anger in the country. People got a good reason to be angry. The government isn't working well. The economy is still weak, growing about 2% a year, way below historical averages. Our national security is in a terrible situation. There's not one place in the world where America is as feared, respected, or admired as it was when Barack Obama became president. Jeb Bush, I thought, said it pretty right. He said the left is angry and the right's angrier. And, of course, when you're in the out party, you are angrier than the ones in the in party. But nobody's satisfied with the condition of our country today.
Yep.
Yeah, if you look at the left and the right, that's what's really winning. Hard left, hard right. Sanders versus, I don't know, actually wouldn't even consider Trump hard right, but it's hard something. If you look at the leadership point that people want to see, who do you see out there that could rise up out of this debate? What will the news be this weekend, head story that people weren't expecting?
Well, there are a lot of these people that have tremendous records of accomplishment, some in business, but many in government. Some of these governors have been incredibly successful. And the problem for them is in 1 minute sound bites,
right. It's
very hard to talk when you're Jeb Bush about how his state led the country in job creation 7 out of the 8 years that he was governor. Yeah. To make coherent thoughts about serious policy and how what you've done in the past shows that you can make that policy work. Lincoln and Douglas would not recognize this as a debate.
It's not a debate. Right?
They're going to be little short snippets.
Yeah. Sandra, what do you think?
But, Governor, I guess in defense of that a little bit, I would say the candidates have a responsibility to get their message out outside of this debate forum, whatever you want to call it. They shouldn't be dependent on getting their message out in just this 2-hour debate on a Thursday night early on in the election cycle. So who right now is and does have a very strong message out there? Donald Trump, everybody's talking about. But I'm planning to really grow this country, grow GDP, grow jobs, be specific. How are you going to do it? Who do you like right now?
Well, Sandra, I served with 9 of these people as governors who have great records. And some of them, like Chris Christie, are making it very plain. I'm willing to be a straight-talking candidate who tells the truth, whether it's popular or not. He's talked about entitlement reform. Jeb Bush, it makes the point, I'm not running to my election to say why somebody else ought not to be president. I'm running to say why I ought to be president based on my record, my achievements. There are a bunch of these guys. Rick Perry's going to be in the 5 o'clock debate.
Yes.
But he's a guy that has a tremendous record as governor of Texas.
Right.
So there are a lot of them. But the problem is, what does the news media choose to cover? I thought Rand Paul made a very important point this weekend. He said, if I was on TV like Donald Trump twice an hour from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, I'd go to the polls too.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
What gets covered? And here's one thing that has been so uncovered that it amazes me. Twice in the last 7 days, the chairman of the National Democratic Party has been asked, what's the difference between a Democrat and a socialist?
Right.
And in both occasions, she would not answer that question. She literally refused to answer. And this wasn't her getting ambushed on some conservative talk radio. This was Chris Matthews on MSNBC, and this was Meet the Press.
Wow.
What's the difference between a Democrat and a socialist? What she finally said after oohing and ahhing? She said, well, what really matters is the difference between a Republican and a Democrat.
Wow. Well, what really matters are the issues. Let me ask you this, Governor, before you go. What do you think is the most important issue this country faces that every one of those guys tonight and gals has to address?
The economic weakness of America, that 48.3% of adult Americans have a full-time job, that per capita, that median household income in America is lower than it was in 2007. No wonder 65% of the people in America think we're going in the wrong direction as a country.
And no wonder Donald Trump has tapped into this.
And the national security issues are enormous and getting worse. The Iranian deal will be even worse. We have an imperial president who takes this Iranian deal, and instead of making it a treaty the Senate has to vote on and pass by 67 votes, he's going to lose the vote on both houses of Congress and still put it into effect. We've got a lot of things in this country people are concerned about for good reason.
Gary Kasparov came on this show a couple of months ago, the former chess champion, now turned political activist. He said President Obama can do more harm to this country in the last 18 months than he has in 7 years. This Iran deal is just something that people are really questioning right now, Governor.
Well, they sure are. Can I make one point? I think what's the most important thing about tonight? Does Donald Trump say flatly, I will not run as an independent or third-party candidate. I'm a Republican. I'm running for the Republican nomination.
You want to hear that?
I think every Republican wants to hear it, because if he does run as a third-party candidate, it virtually destroys any chance of Republicans winning. It'd be like Ross Perot electing Bill Clinton.
He can really ruin things for the Republicans.
You think?
If he goes independent.
Big time.
Governor, thank
Absolutely.
you. Thanks so much for weighing in, Governor. Always fantastic insights from you. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Maria.
We'll see you soon. Governor Haley Barbour there.